Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So yeah, please tell me whether you can see my slide.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So today we will be mainly focusing on CNN, convolutional neural network, and so you have seen so far the idea is basically the same, more or less the same, but we use additional hypotheses and additional assumptions to tackle some of the computational difficulty that we otherwise face in standard fully connected network. Okay, but essentially the same thing. We use the same kind of technique to train the network, the backpropagation and activation function, and so on and so forth. Okay. So let's start off with some of the very exciting applications of CNN. You probably know most of the things, but for the sake of completeness of this particular lecture, I will focus on some of the examples. Okay. And so at the beginning, I must tell you that CNN was primarily developed for image processing stuff, okay, for image data. Okay. And later on it has been extended to some text and things like that. Okay, but primarily the major motivation was for image data, and of course because video is also a sequence of images, so one can straight away also use this for video as well. Okay, so most of the examples that I'm going to show today is primarily on the images, but one can also extend this whole thing on text as well, and there are some works also on text processing side. So just start up with very simple applications like image classification. Okay, and that was one of the earlier paper, which is called AlexNet, 2012. So and Jeff Hinton and co-authors actually wrote this paper, and that is the paper which actually generated lots of interest in the community. After a long time, this particular work gave lots of good results and all. So here in image classification, as you know that you have a set of images and the corresponding tags and labels. Okay, and all you have to do, you have to basically say in which category it belongs. Okay, standard like task that most of the people actually do. Okay, sometimes the classification can be multi-class. It's a multi-class classification, multi-level also. Sometimes one image may belong to multiple different classes, not only one single class. Okay, for example, motor scooty, and say for example the golf cart or something like that. Okay, or in a particular picture, if there is scooty, also some people are riding on it, you can also tag say scooty and then people and things like this. Okay, so tag can be multiple things depending upon how you tag your data and so on. Okay, so another popular application that people do is image retrieval. So the difference between image classification and retrieval is that in classification you give an image and your model is going to say which category it belongs. Okay, tagging something like that. But in image retrieval, what you do that you can either, it's like searching for relevant images, okay, using a search engine. So what you can do, you can basically give say a textual description, say I want elephant, okay, in a text, and then your system is going to get the elephant pictures, okay, from the repository. That is one called searching image through text. Okay, so there also image processing is involved. The other is like query by example. For example, instead of giving say text as a query, you can actually give some image. For example, an image of an elephant. Okay, and you ask your search engine to find out more pictures on elephant from the web or somewhere. Okay, and then it will try to match the query image with all the images in the repository, and you are going to get relevant images. Okay, so this is kind of the image retrieval task, which is different from the image classification task. Okay, so the main issue here is that when you are doing that, you have to understand the content of the image. If a particular image has elephant, for example, okay, and you really want the elephant, so naturally your system must be able to understand that a particular image actually has elephant. So in a sense, you have to basically identify the objects in it and so on and so forth. Now, this is another application which is pretty commonly done. So object detection. Okay, for example, if you think about these pictures where you can see a bunch of objects. You have, say, horse, you have dog, you have person sitting on the horse and car and so on and so forth. So if you have some multiple objects and which you pretty often see in a real life application. So in object detection, what you need to do, basically you need to detect the different objects. You have to spot that, okay, this object is this actually. So you have to basically come up with a bounding box, okay, telling that, okay, this object is within this bounding box, okay, and then the name of the object. So here the numbers that you see is a probability, hello, because the most of the models that we do, they basically generate some kind of probability value, okay. So you basically come up with a bounding box, then a name of that particular object, and then what probability that you believe that this particular object is going to be this, and so on and so forth. Okay, and you can basically do this kind of things, as you can see from this picture. Bus on the road, people are sitting on a boat, and there are dogs, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now the another interesting application is image segmentation. Okay, so in segmentation, what happens is that on the bottom you can see the actual image. So there are people are actually walking on the street. There is some entrance gate you can see, and there are trees and all. So in image segmentation, their objective is to segment the images into coherent pieces. For example, okay, so human body, the trees, the buildings, and so on and so forth. Okay, you just segment the images into different segments so that it can help to identify different objects in the image. So segmentation often helps in spotting the particular object in the image, okay, which you have seen in the previous slide. Now, this is something that most of the people probably will be excited about. It's self-driving car. So how it is done? Now, if you have heard about self-driving car, is that there are set of cameras, okay, in the car. And the cameras basically, take pictures of the roads and sites and all. Okay, so the cameras will take the pictures, of course, and then the pictures means the images, of course, images, videos, and whatever. And you have to process this to understand whether there are obstacles, whether the road there is a roadblock, whether you have to take the turn, and all kinds of things that you have to basically do. And the only way that you do is by image processing stuff. So your camera will be mounted in front of the car. It is going to take pictures periodically, okay, within maybe 1 millisecond or microsecond interval or so on. And your system needs to actually process and understand if there is any obstacle, if there is any car in front of it, how far it is, if there is any pedestrians and all kinds of stuff. Okay. So for all this, you really need to understand, really need to do the object detection things. Okay. So you basically detect the objects, and accordingly, you can decide whether you have to slow down, or you have to stop, or you have to take turn, and all kinds of stuff. Okay, and that is where image processing is absolutely critical and essential. Okay. Now this is one of the application. It's called image captioning, which generated lots of interest initially. Okay, so here it's a combination of two. It's a text as well as image as well as text. So what we want to do in this case is that given an image, okay, now we have to come up with a description, textual description of that image. Okay. So why it is important? It is important because when you are doing image retrieval, for example, image retrieval by text, okay, say you want a particular image where, say, for example, a person is playing a basketball, okay. Now, if you can convert the image into textual description, then you can simply do normal search engine stuff, text matching stuff, and then you can identify the particular image that you are interested in, okay. So therefore, it would be convenient for anybody to have textual description of the images. And that is where actually image processing stuff actually used. That's seen and widely used in this application. So what it does is that the data comes in the form that there are set of images, and for every image there is a textual description given by some expert. Okay, so it's manually annotated data, And then your CNN model will be trained on these pairs. Okay, it's not like classification, not like retrieval or something like that. It's just the input is the image and output would be textual description. Okay, and though your CNN model is going to get all this data, and ultimately it will come up with a model for a new image. It will produce a textual description. Okay, so you can see, it is doing well generally. There are some situations where it doesn't do that well, but it is doing very well on this. I must say at the same time that in this particular kind of applications, so because we are dealing with text as well, so you also need recurrent neural network, which I will cover in the next lecture. Okay, so it's a combination of both CNN and RNN, but CNN is essential in this component. So far so good. So these are some of the examples, and I must tell you that CNN is actually everywhere. Okay, when you are dealing with video, images, these kind of things, then you cannot do without CNN. Okay, CNN is absolutely essential. Just like when you are dealing with textual data, you need RNN. So for image data or image or video, okay, you need CNN. Without CNN, we cannot do it. Okay, so all right. So the question is then, CNN is yet again like another like neural network. The same kind of things, like you have bunch of you will have bunch of parameters, okay, and these parameters will be trained on the training data and so on and so forth. Then you find out the parameters and then just like normal neural network. So what is special with that? Why we need this one? Okay, so I just start off with a very simple example of this. Say you have a 12 megapixel image, which is pretty common, like in any, probably in your mobile you are going to get 12 megapixel images. Okay, so 12 megapixel image means you can see that this many pixels that you have approximately in your image. Okay, so as you know, an image is nothing but a kind of a matrix of numbers. Okay, so for gray image, it's only one matrix. For color image, there are multiple matrices, which you will see in a moment. But for the timing, let's focus on you have only one matrix of this size. Okay. Now, you just think for a moment what we had done for fully connected network. Okay, feed-forward neural network. What we had done, what we gave to this network, what was the input? So in that fully connected network or feed-forward network, the input was a feature vectors. Okay, so individual features are coming into the neurons in the input layer, and you are basically processing. The unit is basically the individual feature values. Okay, and you are giving this one. In this case, we are dealing with matrices. Okay, not vectors. Okay, because images are typically matrices. Okay. So what is the unit? In that case, the unit was a single feature. Okay, the feature value. In this case, what is the unit? In this case, the unit is basically the pixel value. Okay, pixel will be the individual features or the unit. Now think about these things. Now, why not fully connected? It is not that fully connected net cannot be applied on this. Okay, it can be applied, but there's a problem with this. So in order to apply fully connected net, what we can do, we can basically convert the matrix to vector. So that means you can flatten it out. Okay, you just row wise, you simply concatenate, and then finally you get one vector. You can do all of that. Any kind of matrix you can basically do that. Okay. Now once you do that, you get a vector. So vector of dimension of what? 4247 into 2826. That means this many pixels will be there in this vector. Okay. Now once you have that, then you can straight away apply fully connected layer. Okay, and then do it. Now that's all right. That's from application perspective, you can do that. There is no limitation as such. But what is the problem? Okay. Now let's do a simple math. Like if you want to take 10,000 one hidden layer network with 10,000 neurons, for example. Okay, and say assume that you have 10 class in the data. Okay, 10,000 neurons, and then this many pixels. Okay, so if you do that, then what would be the number of parameters in this model? Can you just quickly tell me? This number of parameters that you need to add in this in a fully connected layer, fully connected model or feed forward network for this particular data.
Sir, the number of pixels into 10,000
Number of pixels into 10,000, okay.
plus 10,000 into 10.
So this is going to be 4247 into 2826 into 10,000, right? Okay. Then what? Plus. Then I have 10 classes in the data.
Plus 10,000 into number of classes, sir.
Okay. That's it. Anything else? I'm still missing the biases. Okay.
Plus
So
10,000, sir.
10,000 for the hidden layers, hidden layer, and for the final layer there are 10. So it is basically 10,000 and plus 10. So this for the biases, this for the first layer weights, and this for the this, right? So this is the total number of parameters that you need if you simply want to train one fully connected feed-forward neural network. Okay. Now for because the dimension is very high, there are too many pixels. One layer network definitely won't do good. Okay, so you need to take multiple layers to do that because ultimately you need to fine tune the features. So in order to get that, and by fine tuning means you have to basically add more layers. Okay. Now you can simply you can do some backup the envelope calculation and you can estimate the number of parameters that you're going to get on this one. Okay. So just abundant number of parameters. That's a major difficulty. Okay. So it will take lots of time. You will need lots of training data and so on and so forth. All kinds of things. There are other problems as well, which I will mention on the when I will talk about the other things. But this is one of the most critical and the major issue with this particular things. Okay. So for this kind of situation, okay, so we have to basically people actually propose that we can do some kind of relaxations. Okay, and the CNN actually came into picture because of the relaxation. So CNN, the fundamental idea behind CNN is that we actually do not need to connect all pixels to all others. In a typical feed-forward neural network, we do that because in an image, the neighboring pixels are important. If you think about a big image, okay, the region on the top corner, okay, top left corner, okay, generally are not related with the region in the bottom right corner. Often they are disconnected. Only the neighboring pixels or neighboring regions or the small patches are really important. They are going to give you important information. So why should I waste my time and energy and computational the power and everything by trying to connect the pixels far apart where they should not be connected because they are not giving me additional information. Okay, think about just an image of a human body or human like a picture, a person's picture. So if I understand the object, for example, the head or nose or something like that, the neighboring pixels will be important. Okay, not the other things, not the backgrounds and so on and so forth. So why should I then waste my time on all this? So that is the kind of relaxation that we are going to do. So we are going to focus on the local regions, okay? So it's called locally connected stuff and so on. So you get to see how it actually happens. It's basically very simple arithmetic is there. Okay, at the beginning, I must tell you that this CNN and these kind of things basically plain simple arithmetic and nothing else. Okay, there are some fancy stuff that you see often here and there, some nice pictures, okay, complicated pictures and so on. But it is not. That is just plain simple arithmetic, and I will show you how it actually works. Okay. Now, first and foremost, CNN is a neural network for sure. It's a convolutional neural network, and why it is convolutional you will get to see in a moment. Okay, but what are the building blocks of CNN? You have seen the building blocks in fully connected network, right? You have a bunch of neurons, they're fully connected, and so on and so forth. Okay, but for CNN, you need a separate kinds of building blocks. So what are those building blocks? Primarily 4. Okay, and already 2 of the things we have already seen. So the first most important building block is called convolutional layer operation. Okay, convolutional layers. Okay, the convolution operation, whatever that you can see. So this particular layer, which probably the main thing why people actually named CNN as a convolutional neural network, is essentially a convolution operation. So it focuses on the local regions. Okay, and you will get to see that. Next is basically the pooling layer. Okay, so pooling layer basically performs the pooling operation. Okay, usually maximum pooling that you do. Pooling means simply you from a matrix of numbers or from a sub-matrix of numbers, you are going to produce only one number. So you are given say 4 or 5 or 10 numbers, okay, and you are going to pull only one number out of it. So it could be max pooling or average pooling and things like that. Okay, we get to see that. So objective is to reduce the dimension. Okay. Now third is fully connected layer, which you already have seen in feed-forward neural network. Okay, so simply every layer is connected and so on and so forth. And we also have this typical the activation layers like ReLU, sigmoid, and so on. So these 4 building blocks are absolutely essential to build any CNN model. You can pretty much build any kind of CNN model by stacking up, combining these particular 4 layers. Okay, so that is the 4 things that you have to keep in mind. And there are other small parameters here and there, which I will let you know in a moment. But these are the main things. Okay, so let's start with take up one by one and try to understand how it actually works. Okay, and so on. So first, before I move on, probably you know it, but still I just want to do a quick recap. So a few useful definitions. Okay, what the vector, matrix, and tensor. Okay, so vector is one-dimensional array of n elements. If I think in terms of implementation. Okay. So set of numbers, one-dimensional array of n elements. Matrix, you can think about 2-dimensional array. Okay, indexed by I and j. Okay, then every block will be indexed by 2 numbers. Okay, and so on. So tensor is essentially multi-dimensional array. You can see. So loosely, you can think about a vector is kind of is a series of not series. I would say the stack of some scalar values. Okay, set of scalar values. A matrix is nothing but a set of vectors. So you can think about it in this way. Okay. And a tensor is basically a set of matrices. Okay, so simply stack this up and so on and so forth. Now people you often see that this tensor, vector, these, that, and all kinds of stuff. But essentially they are building blocks of these smaller elements. Okay, so and you can see this picture from here. All right. Now let's try to understand. Okay, just quick before I get into the actual stuff, I just wanted to show you this picture to make sure that how it actually looks, the whole thing. Okay, just this is a CNN example. Okay, at the very beginning, at the very crude level. So the input is a picture of a car you can see, and then you can see basically these different things like conv, ReLU, pool, blah blah blah, and so on. Okay, and finally you have this FC and so on and so forth. Okay. So these are basically the layer names. Conv means convolutional layer, ReLU means ReLU layer, conv means second convolutional layer, then pool means pooling layer, and so on. So essentially you are applying a sequence of layers, nothing but a sequence of operations on the image. And finally, at the final layer, you can see FC means fully connected layer. Because finally, at the end, near the end, what you do, basically you take a fully connected layer and then finally produce the possible the classes that you have in the data. Okay, well, you can see here from the car, track, airplane, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the general design principle. So what people typically do, that generally they apply convolutional layers initially, okay, then pooling layers, and finally generally they use the fully connected layers. Okay, because you are fine tuning the whole thing. So when at the near the end of this whole thing, then the features that you are getting is they're good quality, so you can actually use fully connected layer and so on and so forth. So I will tell you all other things later on, but this is more or less the kind of things that you probably will see everywhere. Okay, then you can build your own stuff. But okay, all right, that is all right. But let's actually get into the details of everything, like on ReLU, pool, and so on and so forth. Okay. So this is the most important operation for convolutional neural network. This is called convolution operation. Okay. So, all right. So let me just walk out with a small example. And it is very simple arithmetic. There is nothing else in it. Okay. Okay, so it should be convolutional. All right. Okay. So let's try to understand how convolutional operation works. And I will gradually build up the whole thing. Okay. First, I will take up simple example with gray image. Then I will talk about the color image with multiple channels and so on and so forth. Okay. So let me just try to illustrate the point. Okay. So as you know, an image is nothing but, in particular, gray image is nothing but a matrix of numbers. Okay. So between 0 to 225, every pixel will have 0 to 225 and so on and so forth. So only one matrix. Okay. So say I have this particular matrix. Okay. Say I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I'm taking some numbers, for example. Say this is 0, this is 2, this is 1, this is 5, this is say 1, 7, 3, 1, 2, 0, 1, 1, 1, 7, 5, 9, and so on and so forth. So a number could be anywhere between 0 to 225, because this is how basically we can represent the gray images and so on and so forth. Okay. So that is your image, that's the input. All right. Now, what's the convolution operation? Okay. So for convolution operation, you need a unit called a filter. Okay. It's called filter. So filter means it's nothing but a matrix. Okay. You predefine a matrix. Okay. So in this case, say I want to use a filter something like this. You could define the size of the filter, you can increase, decrease, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's a different issue. But say I want to apply 2 cross 2 filter. Okay, so filter is another matrix. So I am just taking, say for example, this particular filter. Okay, it could be any number. Okay, I'm just taking this because I have to simplify the computation, so that's why I'm taking this one. Okay, so just any number to take. Okay, now I want to apply the convolution operation on it. Okay, just this one on this particular matrix. Okay, so how I do? First, I will take this, starting from this one, I take this particular block and I will just apply this one. So it is just like dot product. Okay, product, the element wise product and then summation. Okay, so what I will get? So if I do that, this is 1 into 0 means 1. 2 into 1 means, so this is basically for this one, this is 1 and then 2, 2 into 1 is 2, and then it is 0 and it's 7. So this is actually 9. Okay, so if I apply the whole thing on this one, this is going to be 9. Okay, because this 1 into 0 plus 1 into 2 plus 0 into 1 plus 1 into 7, and you can see 9, just dot product. Okay, just element wise product and then sum. Now similar way, so this is the first block. Okay, all right. Now I can apply the filter on the next block. So for example, this block. Okay, I can apply the filter on this block. Now if I apply this block, what will be the number? Can somebody tell me?
7.
7. 7. It's 1. It's 5, 6. Yeah, 7. Okay, all right. It is 7. Okay. Similarly, I'm not computing. Similarly, then you can move on to this one. Okay. You can get some number here. Similarly, you can compute this one, and you are going to get the numbers here. Okay. I'm just computing. You can see this from this picture. Okay. Make sense? So this is for applying a filter. So what you need to have an input, you need to filter, okay, some filter of predefined size. Of course, it's smaller than the input matrix, definitely, otherwise you cannot apply it, or you can apply it, then you have to do other kind of trick anyway. and you are going to get so. So the bottom line is that when you apply a filter on it, you are going to basically get a matrix, and generally a smaller matrix you are going to get. From the bigger one to smaller you are going to get. So here you had 4 cross 4. So here you have 2 cross 2. Okay. So that is one of the purpose. Okay. Purpose is what? That you want to reduce this data to a smaller dimension. Okay. All right. So now question is, how can we find these filters? Okay. So in any CNN model, typically a filter is nothing but a parameterized matrix. Okay, you can think about say W1, W2, W3, W4. It's just parameters. Okay, and you remember that we have this parameter and back propagation and all. You just want to find out what would be the good values of these parameters from the training itself directly. Okay, once you have that, you can then do that. Okay, but that is how the actual operation actually works. Okay, so this is for single channel filter. Okay, all right. So only one filter. Okay. Now let's try to understand this thing on slightly better way. Okay. Now what we will do? I'm going to take the same matrix and so on. Now okay. So in reality, what happens is that, so you remember that I am using only one filter. Okay. So the filter one, I'm just denoting this is a filter one. Okay. Say this is a 2 cross 2 matrix and so on. Okay. All right. Now this filter I'm applying on this entire matrix, and I'm going to produce by this particular matrix, for example. Because here there are 4 blocks I'm getting, so I'm going to produce these 4 blocks. Okay. All right. Now, because this is one filter I'm applying, so whenever I'm applying this particular filter on this region, on this region, on this region, on this region, the operation remains the same because filter remains the same kind of operation that is basically going to give, it is doing, and I'm going to get some numbers here. So what basically I'm doing, I'm performing a particular kind of operation. That means I'm extracting a particular kind of feature. So one filter is responsible for extracting one particular feature. Which feature I do not know. It is doing something inside in it. Okay, but it is doing a particular operation on it. But think about an image process. Image is a complicated object. Okay, in the sense that it has lots of things. It has colors, it has contrast, it has brightness, it has objects, multiple objects. It has background, all kinds of stuff you can find in it. It had edges and shapes and all kinds of stuff. Okay. Now for any real life application, you do not know beforehand that which features are going to be important. Okay. You need to actually have shapes, colors, and all kinds of stuff you actually need. So you do not know what kind of feature I need. Okay. So therefore one filter is not sufficient. Never. It is never sufficient, single filter, because single filter is responsible for one kind of thing. So therefore we have to basically take multiple filters. Okay, you can take multiple filters. So you can take another filter. Okay, say F2. So you can take another filter, say F3, and so on and so forth. I'm just showing the filter. Okay, so same operation that we apply. So when applying this filter on the entire image in this way, okay. So you are going to get one matrix. From here you are going to get another matrix. From here you are going to get another matrix, and so on and so forth. Okay. So as a rule of thumb, the number of matrices that you are going to get out of this one, okay, will depend on the number of filters that you are applying. Okay, and number of filters that you typically apply, okay, it depends on, it's basically a hyperparameter in your model. Okay, just like the number of layers you get in feed forward neural network. Okay. So yeah, so do you have any question on this? Anybody has any doubt? I will move on to the next part, which is color image, multi-channel image.
Sir?
Yes, please.
Whatever filter we may use, the produced matrix should be of reduced dimension, right?
Yes, that's the goal. Yeah, that is not the hard condition, but that's the goal. Yes, desirable rather than goal. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I think your question is because here we are producing multiple matrices from a single matrix. Why? Because you are asking because of that.
No, sir. Actually, is our goal always to reduce the dimension?
So it is not always the case. So at least, I mean, finally you have to do that. Otherwise, you cannot handle the whole thing. But at least that is not the hard condition. Generally, that is the case. So one objective is, of course, to preserve the important features in your data. Okay, and the second objective is basically reduce the dimension. Okay, now to your question that whether this is the only objective, the answer is no. The other objective is basically which I mentioned is that we have to preserve the features in the data in the sense that so in the input image we are dealing with the individual pixels. Okay, now in order to know that whether the boundary of there is any kind of boundary or the edge of an image. Okay, for example, somebody is sitting there, so you have to basically spot the object, and in order to spot the object you have to basically get the boundaries of this particular object, okay, which is basically called the edges. Now an edge is basically some combination of the pixels. Okay, particular way you can basically arrange this, and that is how basically you're going to get the edge. So the edge or the shape or the colors is basically some combination of pixels. So what would be that combination? So that combination also can be found out by applying these filters. So yes, one is basically reducing the dimension for sure. The other is basically combining the pixels to get fine-tuned features. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other question?
Sir, in this case, we have run the filter through over non-overlapping squares, right?
Yes. Yes. I will come to the other part, yes, later on when I will talk about strides. And yeah. So this is I wanted to show you how it actually works. But yeah, you are right that we have to basically take the overlapping things and so on. Okay, so that we can actually get information from the neighboring pixels. So because that is what is important. And for that we need to introduce another concept called stride, which I will talk about later on. Okay. Okay. Any other question? All right. Okay. Now this is one channel image. That means the image is basically only a single matrix, but the color image is not like that. Okay. So color image is typically multi-channel image. Okay. I mean, to be very like informal. So it's nothing but three matrices. For example, if you think about RGB images, red, green, and blue, three channels. Okay, and if you basically combine all these things together, you are going to get only one image, color image, and all. So they will consist of three different matrices. Okay, now convolutional operation on this kind of things, how it actually works. Okay, now here how you can basically do it. So the color image is something like this, that say I have one matrix here. I have another matrix here. I have another matrix here. Okay, so this is RGB image because you have this, for example, this is red, this is blue, this is green, and this is blue. Okay, because three different matrices. Okay, we have to deal with that. All right. Now the same convolution, because convolution is the building block of CNN. So how the convolutional operation will work and what is the structure of the convolution operation, the filter. Okay, the filter operation. Okay, now in this case is that what we do is that we define a convolution operation. So the convolution in the previous case, the filter was of size say n cross n matrix. Okay, now here the filter will be of this kind of thing. So we need to have, say for example, 3 things together. Okay. Something like this. So the filter will also have 3 bands, which is equals to the number of bands or the channels in the original image. Okay. So you have to basically have the same thing. Now what you do, you apply these things here. You apply the thing here. For example, take this particular block. Okay. Okay. You basically take this particular block. I'm showing one example, and then you can generalize this for the whole image and so on. Okay. So if you do this thing, so the same operation. So you apply this operation. Okay. So the final thing which you can produce from this by applying this one. So you are going to get some number here. So I'm writing down, this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay. So you apply this operation with this one, you're going to get A. You apply this one, you're going to get B, number B, you're going to get C, and finally you simply add them together. Okay. So the final thing will be A plus B plus C. Okay. So you are going to get again, for example, from this kind of thing. Okay. So irrespective of whatever number of bands you have, it doesn't really matter. Okay. If you're only using one, basically, filter with the same band, same number of bands or channels, you are going to get another matrix of this kind of thing. Again, non-overlapping things I am taking. So first this block, then this block, then this block, then this block, and similarly you can do it. Okay. So whenever you are applying the thing, whenever you are applying this one, you must apply this also, this one, the same blocks. Okay, on the same blocks you have to apply. Then simply do this dot product, then take the sum, and then finally you are going to get this. Okay. Any question on this? Okay. All right. So yeah. So similarly, when you do, for example, multiple filter kind of thing. Okay. So you can straight away apply the same thing here. So let me copy these things. Now, again for color image, for multi-channel image, okay. For multi-channel image, for example, this. Okay. Now I can also apply the multiple filter. Okay. So I'm just writing down in this way, just just want to make it little concise. So for example, one filter would be of this. Okay. And then something like this. Okay. Okay. So I take 3 different filters. F1, F2, and F3. Okay. So similar way, you can basically going to get operate on this one, and this one, because corresponding bands will be applied on this one. Similarly for F2, this one, and so on and so forth. Okay. So by applying this one, what is the size of this output? Can you tell me? How many matrices you are going to get, and of what size? So you can assume these are all 2 cross 2. Okay, so 2 cross 2 cross 3 actually, because you have 3 things. Okay, and you have this 4 cross 4. So can you tell me what would be size of this output? So you're going to get tensor, right? Because there are 3 matrices, so tensor. So what is the size of the tensor?
2 cross 2 cross 9.
2 cross 2 cross
9.
9. Okay. Any other response? Anybody disagrees? Anybody disagree? Does everybody agree with this answer? 2 cross 2 cross 9. Okay, so how are you getting the number 9?
So 2 cross 2 cross 3.
Yeah, 2 cross 2 cross 3 actually. Okay, so student, I cannot see you on the screen because my screen is completely with this PPT. Student who answered first said 9. You still believe that it will be 9 or 3? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Still believe it is 9 or it would be 3?
Sir,
Yeah, please.
won't there be three outputs of 2 cross 2 size of the red channel?
Say again, what? 3?
Won't there be 3 outputs of 2 cross 2 size of red channel?
Okay, so let me just explain. Okay, so when we are applying this filter 1, just focus on filter 1 only. What it is going to produce? 2 plus 2 matrix from all 3.
Yes,
right?
sir.
From all 3, because the filter 1, there are 3 bands. So you remember that the number of bands that you have or the number of matrices that you have is equals to the number of matrices that you have in the original data or the input data. Otherwise, they will be incompatible. So you are going to apply F1. So if you apply F1 from this, the entire thing, it is going to produce you 2 cross 2. Okay. Similarly, when you apply F2, you are going to get 2 cross 2. When you apply F3, you are going to get 2 cross 2. So it's a 2 cross 2, on top of it is 2 cross 2, on top of it 2 cross 2. There are 3 2 cross 2 actually. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah. So this is basically the convolution operation. So yeah. Okay. So but I must say that these are basically the numerical examples that I'm showing you. But the question is, anybody can ask that how do I know what convolutional operation that I can take? So, and that is where the parameter comes in. So all these convolutional matrices and all, they are parameterized. Okay, just like you remember the weights and biases in your fully connected neural network. Okay, here also we assume that my convolutional matrix would be a matrix of this 2 cross 2 cross 3 of weights and so on and so forth parameters. And then you simply apply backpropagation to find out all these parameters. Okay, so it's parameterized. You apply your training data, you backpropagate, you find out these values of the parameters, and then you can basically apply this all kinds of stuff. Okay, all right. You probably will see this kind of pictures here and there. Okay, pictorial view of convolutional layer and so on and so forth. So what you can see in this picture, that you have a matrix, you have an image. Okay, 32 cross 32 cross 3. Actually, there are 3 bands. So you apply convolutional layer, and you are going to get a bunch of another matrices, okay, which people typically call activation maps. Okay, there are many names. Okay, people call it. You must know some of the names just to make your conversation a little easier. So these are called activation maps. Okay, so here we are applying 5 cross 5 filters. Okay, every filter of size 5 cross 5. Okay, and of course 5 cross 5 cross 3 actually, because there are 3 bands, so you can do that. And the number of filters that we are applying 6. That is why we are getting 6 matrices on the right side in the activation maps. Okay. All right. Now, you again going to see this kind of pictures here and there. Okay, there's nothing complicated in it. Okay, just the way people actually represent the whole thing. So it's convolutional net, or people also call convnet. It's a sequence of convolutional layers. Okay, interspersed with activation functions. So you have the input image. Okay, then you have convolutional operation followed by ReLU operation, because convolution is going to give you some number which is unbounded number. Okay. So you have to basically apply the activation values, the activation function, just like you have seen in feed-forward neural network. So you apply some activation, okay, and you are going to produce some other numbers. You basically pass this number to the next layer. You apply convolutional, then activation, and so on and so forth. So this is the general trend. Okay, initially people actually use these kind of things, but nowadays people are coming up with the other kinds of suggestions and architectures. Okay, you do not need to follow this particular structure, but in general it looks like this. Okay, just a sequence of things. Okay, now depending upon the size of this filter, okay, you are going to reduce the dimension. Okay, if you take smaller filters, then you are going to reduce the dimension gradually. Okay, all right. Okay, so now the question that one of the students actually asked, it's called stride. Okay, another important thing in CNN. Okay, it's called stride. So what the stride, the role of the stride is this. Say you have an image something like this. Okay, that's the input image. And remember that I have taken this filter. Two cross two filter. Okay. Now, so I applied. So one way to apply, you remember that, that I applied something like this. That I basically applied on this one. Okay. And the next I applied on this particular block. Okay, and so on and so forth. It's non-overlapping things. Okay. But what we are missing here, the important thing that we are missing here is that in any image, the neighboring pixels, the connection between neighboring pixels are very important. Think about the edge detection things. Okay, edge means that there's color change. Okay, the intensity change and so on. So you can basically only understand that by looking at the neighboring pixels. Okay, the values of the neighboring pixels and so on and so forth. So if we somehow miss, okay, the neighborhood information, then we are not going to get as good as otherwise we get, as we have expected. Okay, so in order to avoid that, we have to basically take the overlapping things. So when we are applying the filter operation, we can take some overlap of the regions and then apply filtering. Okay, so what this happens then in this case? Okay, now I can then that particular thing I can control by a thing called stride. Okay, it's called stride. Okay, so stride means the amount of jump that you are taking. Okay, so for example, if I set stride to be, for example, 1, for instance, then my first block will be this. Of course, this is the starting point. Okay, so I apply this filter operation here on this particular block. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to get some number. Now, because my stride is 1, my next block will start from here. Okay, this one. Okay, so first is basically the 1 and 2, column 1 and 2, then 2 and 3, then 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. Just sliding window. Okay, you are doing that. So in this way, in the next block, you can apply on this particular block, and so on and so forth. Okay, and in this way, you can simply proceed and go and compute the numbers the usual way that you are computing. Okay, it's called stride. So in our earlier case, the stride was actually 2, because we're actually skipping, there's non-overlapping things and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can control this stride value. It's again hyperparameter. Okay, you have to set it when you design your CNN stuff. Okay, you have to set it accordingly to find out the things. Okay. important concept is called padding. Okay, and let me show you why it is important. So think about this particular again example of the image. Okay, so I have this image, input image. Okay, now not all filter I can apply. Okay, so there is some level of, sometimes there is level of incompatibility. Okay, with the things. So what is the incompatibility? The incompatibility is this, that if I, for example, take this particular image, if I say set a filter size of this 3 cross 3. Okay, if I apply this kind of filter, 3 cross 3 filter, what is going to happen? Okay, no, for the first block, no problem. Okay, all right. Let's say my stride is, for example, 2. Okay. So for the next block, what will happen? So, okay, for say my stride is 3 actually. Okay, so first block is not a problem. Now the next block will start from this particular position. Okay, this particular position, my next block will start, but I cannot apply this operation here. Okay, I cannot apply this operation here because I cannot, because I do not have enough regions to cover. Okay, but then what should I do? Should I leave it out as is? I should not leave it out, because if I do not do any operation on this particular thing, then I may lose some information, maybe the edges and so on and so forth. Okay, so what then I should do? Then the usual thing is that we can basically apply some kind of padding. Padding means that basically enhancing your matrix little bit, maybe by some numbers with zeros and so on and so forth. Okay, so you basically add some rows and columns. Okay, something like this, and then you basically add some zero numbers and so on and so forth, depending upon your requirement. Okay, so that is basically one of the reasons that will take this. One is basically to make these things compatible. Okay, when you have incompatibility factor due to your filter size and stride and so on and so forth. Okay, all right. So yeah, now let's I think let's take a break. Okay, now we just run through these two small questions and then we will take a break. Okay. Now that you have seen this one, the whole thing, so the question is that for a convolutional layer question, so your input volume is 32 cross 32 cross 3. Okay, that means the input, your input data is this. Okay, now you have 5 cross 5 filters with stride 1 and padding 2. Okay, now your number of filters is equals to 10. Okay, now could you tell me the size of this output volume? What would be the size of this output volume? You may need to take pen and paper to compute this one, because this is very critical to understand how things actually work. So I suggest you to do this math. It's just plain arithmetic, but you need pen and paper to do that.
32 into 32 into 3.
32 into 32 into then what?
Into 3.
3. You have 10 filters. I said number of filters 10. Won't it be 10? If you apply only one filter, 5 cross 5 filter with stride 1 and pad 2, actually 5 cross 5 means 5 cross 5 cross 3 actually, because you have to make it compatible. Three bands there will be. So yeah, it's for if you apply only one filter, you are going to get 32 cross 32. Okay, but you have 10 filters, so you will produce this. Still have doubt? You still have doubt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. It's clear, right? Okay. All right. Now let's. Yeah. Anybody saying something?
Yes, sir. So the pad would increase it to 34 into 34, right?
Yes. Next question is this. Now this is about the number of parameters, because the convolution, the filters essentially, when you actually use in your network, you train your network, they're essentially the parameterized matrices, right? You have to find it out. Okay. Now, what would be the number of parameters? Okay, in the convolutional this particular setup. Again, this is 5 cross 5 cross 3 actually the filter. Okay, I omitted 3 because it has to be compatible with the input. That's why I omitted it. But it's 5 cross 5 cross 3 filters. So what would be the number of parameters in this layer? And assume that for every filter there will be one bias parameter. Okay. So that
Say
is
760.
760. Okay, how are you getting this number? Maybe you can explain a little bit.
So 5 into 5 into 3 into
Okay.
10 plus 10.
So one filter matrix 5 into 5 into 3, right? This many parameters you have in a single filter. Then you have 10 filter. Okay, and plus then you have 10, right? You have 10 biases. So this is how much?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I think this 760, right? That's what you mentioned?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 760. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So yeah, that is how basically you can do the convolutional operation and so on. Okay. So yeah, okay. So let's take a break and then you come back and then you talk about other things and so on.